All right, you guys, let's get straight into this video. Quick risk disclaimer. Trading is very risky. You can and most likely will lose your money, and you will lose a lot of money um, attempting to become a professional trader, right? So the information that you guys get in this video, it is for entertainment and educational purposes only. And with that being said, let's start this video, all right? We're going to get straight into the breakdown on the NASDAQ today. Showing you guys what seen in the markets, how I found my trades. Today I did take a $400 loss in my Apex accounts. I do have 6 Apex accounts. And if you guys want to support my channel, I do have my Apex link in my description right now, and you guys can use my code TRUCKIN, and you guys can get the best discounts with my code. You can also do the same thing with Funder Pro and Tradeify as well, right? Links will be in the descriptions below. But let's get into the trade breakdown so I can show you guys how I took a L on my account. On my live account, I was down about $500 on my live account, and I was able to bounce back on my live account and ended up making about $230 today. So I'm going to show you guys how I found those trades, okay? So with that being said, let's get straight into it. So starting on a daily time frame, you guys. Starting on the daily time frame. Today, I'm trying to get my mouse to work. Now my mouse don't want to work. There we go. All right, so this was today's price action. Tuesday, July the 29th. Price has started out. We broke above yesterday's high, right? Starting out. So that's where I'm going to take you guys to on a smaller time frames. I want to take you to at least the hourly, right? So as a matter of fact, okay, actually I still have it on my chart, right? Because I did update my chart, so I wanted to, my charts be a little bit messy, and I try to show you these guys. I try to do these breakdowns with, just being as minimalistic as possible with these charts, because I know it's hard for you guys to see and see everything in real time. But let's jump to the hourly time frame so you guys can see right here this little blue line. If you zoom in on that, and you guys can see right here, it says daily high. That was the daily high from yesterday, right? So we started off around here. This is the 9 a.m. candle on the hourly chart. So we was breaking above this daily high first, right? And then you guys can see down here, we have yesterday's low. So I'm going to talk about that as well. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Watch this full video. I'm telling y'all, there's going to be some really good gems in this video. So make sure y'all, just be locked in with me. I'm telling you, you're gonna get something from this video. So I'm going to take you down to at least the 15-minute chart, right? Well, actually, let's just go to the 1 minute, because I want to just be able to break price down the way I was seeing it in real time. And normally, after I do all of my higher time frame analysis, I'm only looking at the 1 minute. I don't need to be in the 4-hour all day or the 1 hour all day. It's just better for me to just be on that 1 minute time frame, right? So this is pretty much what had happened to me, you guys, right? Price. This is 9:30 candle. I'm going to put a vertical line on this 9:30 candle. Actually, I'm going to put it on 9:27 so we can see the 9:30 opening, right? So let's put a vertical line on here, 9:27. So you guys can see the market opens, started to spike up. And then right here, this is the first presented fair value gap. I can zoom in on this, right? So what had happened was, as you guys can see right here, we had already swept the daily high. So I was looking for the most previous high, which was around 615. And I think that was this area right here, right? If you zoom out, all right, you see this little swing high right here. So I was talking to my girlfriend. I was telling her, I think it's going to go up there and sweep 615 out and then come back and drop below. So what ended up happening was, once we swept 615 around right up in here as it's going up, I got in. I averaged in on my Apex and I averaged in on my live account. I think I had about 2 to 3 micros on each one. and my overall entry was 630. So as you guys can see in hindsight, if you guys look at the price over here, 23,630, it's a pretty good price, but I got in a little bit too early, and then I kind of got faked out. So what should have happened, I should have just waited for the first presented fair value gap, right? I should have just waited, because if I would have waited for the first presented fair value gap, I would have waited for a breakdown below this first presented fair value gap, and I would have taken this sell on a retest right here. And I do have a video on first presented fair value gaps too, if you guys want to go check that out. Really great information. If you're not using the first presented fair value gap, I can almost guarantee that your price action skills aren't as good as you want them to be, right? So make sure y'all, use the first presented fair value gap, right? And it's the first fair value gap that shows up after 930, right? So this big 930 gap right here, this is not considered a first presented fair value gap. So long story short, I was taking my sales, but then, price had kept going. And what scared me the most is when we came down here and we touched this midpoint of the first presented fair value gap. Let me zoom in on that. Right? As soon as we touched the midpoint of this first presented fair value gap, that's when I really started to get a little bit nervous, because I knew that I had a lot of liquidity down here that wanted to be swept. But at the same time, sentiment in the market right now is very bullish, and I just didn't know if we was going to want to come back down during the evening session, during the afternoon. I just didn't want to be on the wrong side for the morning session. So what I ended up doing was, as the price came back down a little bit, I cut my losses, right? So I cut my losses, and then I'm looking at this little order block right here, and I'm also looking at the midpoint of this wick right here. So I was taking buy. So I flipped from being a seller to a buyer, and I'm thinking that price is going to hold and continue to at least go back up here, take out this liquidity up here, but that never happened, right? And so that's what, cost me to lose a lot on my, well, not a lot, because I had my daily loss limit in for my Apex accounts, and I just set my daily loss limit on my actual live account as well, so I can actually do better with managing the risk on that account as well. But I was down about 400, hit my daily loss limit, then I was down about 500, because as you guys can see, I was taking this trade, my stop loss was right here. You guys can see I wasn't in the trade for that long. As soon as I got in, it pretty much went right to stop loss view. So that was my first loss of the day. And then in here, we had some minor liquidity that was ran out on the 15-minute chart as well. You can see that. You can see it a lot better on the 15-minute chart. I am not going to switch my time frames. If you're watching this video, you can switch your time frames. But like, let's say if you're watching this a year or two from now, essentially I like to use the 15-minute time frame to find liquidity. I think that's one of the best places to go and find liquidity. ICT even said it himself, right? So it's not just me making this up. I actually learned that from ICT, right? So, and then right here, we had a bit of a retracement back into this fair value gap right here. And then notice how we started to make lower highs. So we made a high, lower high, then lower high. And then we sold off again right here. And this is all before 11 a.m. So when we sold off right here, we started to, let me remove this off of my chart. So we sold off, we tapped into this new week opening gap, had a little bounce, and then we dug deeper into the new week opening gap. Now, let me show you guys something cool. All right, I don't want this video to be too long. I can give y'all, at least 4 or 5 different breakdowns and 4 or 5 different ways to look at this market, right? But normally what happens is this, right? When the market first break out the top of a previous day high, normally you're not going to see it break below the previous day low as well. Today we had a special occurrence where the market broke out the previous day high and the previous day low. And ICT teaches that when that happens, a big move is getting ready to come. Hence, NFP week is next week, right? So a big move is definitely getting ready to come. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I don't know if it's going to be next week, but it's coming, right? So um, I made a small scalp right here. I took this scalp. I made about $180 on this trade on my live account. At this point, my Apex accounts were done. Daily loss limit hit. I'm done trading them, right? I really want to keep emphasizing the daily loss limit because it's something new that I'm trying. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys more than likely still struggle with risk to reward and just being consistent, right? Being disciplined and controlling your losses. So if that's you, you might want to consider putting a daily loss limit in on some of your prop firm accounts as well, right? So I had first got in on this trade, and the reason why I got in on this trade was because let me take you guys to the hourly time frame so I can break this trade down. So as price was coming down into this new week opening gap, I'm looking at this gap right here. It was a first presented fair value gap attached to this 1 hour gap. Then I was looking at this gap as well. Now I wanted these gaps to be like more like breakaway gaps, either leave it open. But once price came down in here and it started touching, I kind of started to figure, okay, it's not going to leave it open. So price is starting to look really bearish, right? Really bearish. So keep up with me, right? Keep up with me because I want you guys to understand why I took this trade right here. So like I said, if price breaks out the top of yesterday's, if price breaks out of the previous day's high first, normally you can expect that the previous day low is not going to be broken out, right? So when I take this trade, I'm only risking 20 points with, the ideal of price going all the way back up here to sweep out this liquidity up here, at least going back up to 23,600. Now, as you guys can see, that never happened, but that was the ideal, right? I'm only risking 20 points, and I got like a 10-to-1 plus risk to reward ratio, right? So I got a good $180 out of this trade. Then when the price came down here, swept this liquidity again, right? Let me zoom in. Price came down here and swept this liquidity again. Same thing, right? Notice how it comes right before that previous day low before it stopped and then reverses to take out some liquidity, right? I was in on this trade as well. I was in my overall price was about 460, I believe it was. And then I rolled that up and then I made about $400 in my live account. So that was that trade, right? And then I caught it one more time over here somewhere. I believe it was over here somewhere. I caught it one more time and I made like an extra $140 with the same idea that it shouldn't hit this. But after it kept bouncing around this old first presented fair value gap, I kind of knew that this was going to get hit, right? But normally, when you have a daily bias, if it breaks out the low first, more times than not, it's not going to break out of the previous day high. And if it breaks out of the previous day high first, more times than not, it's not going to break out of the previous day low. I'm telling you guys this for a reason because that is like gems on gems on gems, right? If you know that, you can really find a lot of good trades. You can find a really good trade in the morning. You can find a really good trade in the afternoon. You can even find a really good trade in the evening time if that's what you want to do. I have pretty much moved into like just trying to catch that one good trade in the morning and just being done, being humble, coming back, and then doing it again. So, but today I'm not gonna lie, I was over leveraging. My discipline wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I kind of traded it a little bit longer just because, I wanted to crawl my account back out of the red, right? So that was pretty much all that happened today, you guys. The only thing I did today was I waited and seen, okay, where have price breaking out first? Did it break out of the previous day high or did it break out of the previous day low first? Going into the market open, it broke out of the previous day low. The previous day high. From there, I dropped into the 15-minute time frame. Let me take you guys to the 15-minute, because these pink lines that you see on my chart is minor liquidity areas, but that wasn't the liquidity I had marked on my chart in the beginning. That's new liquidity that I'm going to be looking for later on in the week, right? But the liquidity that I had on my chart for this morning was this little low right here. I had this low, I had this low, and like I said on the hourly, there was a gap in here on the hourly. I was trying to see if price was going to go to like the low 500s, which is right down here, right? And obviously we got this big new week opening gap, which is always going to be like a magnet to price. If you're not using the new week opening gap, you may want to consider using a new week opening gap, right? So that's what I had on my chart. That was my little bias. Honestly, everything that I thought was going to happen didn't happen, because if you guys look at the hourly chart right here, I'm going to, oh no, I actually want that on my chart. I'm going to move this, right? So look at this big wick right here on the hourly chart. You guys are going to want to note this big wick on the hourly chart. Moving forward for the rest of the week, especially going into NFP week, because this big wick is going to be important. I thought today that we would at least maybe want to go into this gap right here in the 1 hour, or at least this inversion fair value gap right here, but it never wanted to bounce up, right? Today was a really bearish day. So that's the breakdown, you guys. I hope you guys got some gems out of all of this. I hope you guys go back into the charts yourself and take a look at this. Don't forget, you guys, the best way to support my channel is to use my coupon codes. I'm affiliated with Tradeify. I'm affiliated with Funder Pro and Apex, and I'm thinking about, maybe working with some other companies, but I have to pretty much test out their accounts, make sure that they're actually offering something that's actually worth me backing, right? So make sure y'all go check those links out in my description. Don't forget, you guys can trade with me as well if you're interested in trading with me. I'm helping people get funded, right? I'm going to help people build their small accounts. That link is in the description below as well. Until then, you guys can also support the channel by dropping a like, subscribing, and just, leaving some comments, man. Just engaging. And, and that's it. And I appreciate all of the people who support the channel. And I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace out.